Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, The Moonlit Grimoire. My name is River, I am a solitary Wiccan, and this is a channel where you can learn about anything witchcraft. If you read the title of this video, then that's right. Today we're talking about pendulum magic. What can be a pendulum? The simple answer, anything that has weight and can swing from the end of a cord, chain, or string. But specifically, a pendulum is a pointed object on the end of a string or chain. It could be made of wood, metal, crystal, or a piece of jewelry, or any object with enough weight to amplify swing. What are pendulums used for? They can be used for numerous things. For example, talking to spirits, locating objects, communing with deity, or most commonly, getting simple answers to questions. Pendulum magic is a form of divination called scrying. How does it work? Pendulums are moved by energy, either the energy you manifest yourself, or the energy your spirit guides manifest, or even the energy of a deity or fae. When working with a pendulum, you have to allow your subconscious mind to take over and guide you. That means you can't influence the pendulum in any way if you want to get a proper answer. You have to be completely unbiased. If you are asking a question and hoping the answer will be yes, you are influencing the pendulum to land on yes, because the pendulum is moved by the energy you manifest, and you can easily manipulate the pendulum if you are expecting a certain outcome. If you're thinking, please say no, odds are it's gonna say no. Being unbiased is probably the hardest part about scrying, and it could take some practice when first starting out. Before you get started working with a pendulum, you want to make it your pendulum. That means get connected with it, cleanse it regularly, carry it with you, sleep with it under your pillow, hold it in both hands and meditate with it, or hold it to your heart chakra and connect with its vibrations. Whatever you feel is the best way to connect with it. Go for it. What tools do you need? You don't really need any tools because pendulums work really well on their own. But if you're having trouble trying to tell what it's saying, you might want to have a guide for it. For example, a pendulum board, also called a scrying board. Pendulum boards often have words on them like yes, no, maybe, or rephrase. But a more advanced board might have days of the week, moon phases, astrological symbols, the alphabet, numbers, or even Elder Futhark runes or witches' runes. But you don't need a special board, especially if you don't have one. If you're outside, you could draw lines in the dirt and label yes, no, rephrase, maybe, or anything else you think the pendulum might need. Or draw out a board on a piece of paper. You could even print one off the internet. If you choose to work with a pendulum board, you need to get your pendulum to connect with that board. Having your pendulum rest on top of the board when it's not in use is a really good way to get those two to connect. Always cleanse the board regularly as well. After they've connected with each other, you want them to work together. You do this first by determining your pendulum's unique yes and no directions. Think of pendulums as having their own personalities. Each one moves differently. Yes isn't always going to be from swinging from left to right, and no won't always be from north to south. Once you know what patterns indicate yes, move the board in the indicated yes direction. Do this with no as well. Once your board is calibrated, you're ready to begin scrying. How do you scry? First, you're going to want to relax and ground yourself. It's best to be in a nice, quiet space where you won't be disturbed. If you're familiar with circle casting, I recommend it. Cast a circle, especially if you're working with the energies of a deity, spirit guide, or fae. Start by first holding the cord between your thumb and first finger of your projecting hand, or dominant hand if you will. Then comfortably rest your elbow on a table and allow the pendulum to swing freely, about an inch above the surface of the table. then calibrate your pendulum with its board if you're using a board. But if you aren't, pay close attention to the way that it moves. Ask it first to show you yes. It might start moving immediately, or it might take a while. I have two crystal pendulums. One is clear quartz and the other one is white howlite. The clear quartz one always takes a while to start moving, whereas the howlite one always gets up and goes immediately. Sometimes it swings like it's on way too much sugar. Once the pendulum starts moving, it will either move from side to side, backwards to forwards, or rotate clockwise or counterclockwise. Once the pendulum shows yes, stop it again. Then repeat the process for asking it to show you no. After this, you can ask it to show you I don't know, maybe, or any other responses that are written on the board. Now you can ask the pendulum to answer questions that can be answered with these 4 movements. For your first question, you want to ask something you already know the answer to. You might ask if the grass is green. If it's a yes, it should give you a yes. Or ask if today is Monday. If it's a no, it should give you a no. After checking your pendulum in this way, you can proceed by asking questions you don't know the answer to. Start by asking questions that you can check later on. The correct answers that your pendulum provides will give you confidence as you continue to experiment. There is no limit to the questions that you can ask, as long as they're simple yes or no questions. But remember that it is possible to manually influence and push the pendulum to move in a certain way. Try to have as little emotional involvement in the question as possible about what answer it lands on, in order to remain completely unbiased. Just accept what it gives you, even if it's not correct. With more practice, you will get more accurate scrying. Additional methods. Another way you can work with your pendulum is by laying out a tarot or oracle deck across the table, and let your pendulum guide you to a certain card. Your pendulum can also choose things for you. For example, a specific crystal, if you lay out a bunch of crystals all over the table. Allow it to guide you to a certain one if you're not sure which to choose. There are so many ways to work with a pendulum. Please share in the comments what kind of pendulum you use. Did you buy it or make it yourself? What do you typically use it for? I'd love to hear what you have to say, so please leave a comment. Thanks so much for joining me. May your future be bright and guided by the stars. Blessed be.